This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas.
Hey there, it's Brian Sebastian, movie reviews and more. And if it's Tuesday, first of all, it's always Giving Tuesday. No matter what, give to your favorite charities, no matter where they may be or who they may be around the world, because that's very, very important. And this is, it doesn't really matter if you're small business, woman-owned, an inventor, a drummer, an artist, an author, doesn't matter. You've got to support those authors. You got to buy those books. You got to support those drummers when they have new music and they're singing for the first time with a new solo album coming up. I'm talking about Royal Prince Franklin Vanderbilt. Yeah, I called you your real name. And I obviously, if you know everybody knows I always do this off the top of my head. So here's the thing about this show. This is 131 live shows in a row. 131. We got 2 more to get in before the end of the year, and we will. Going straight into another year as usual. And the fun thing about this show is we've got a lot of members from the EZWAY family, EZWAY podcast, EZWAY verse, EZWAY network. And that makes me happy. This is where I met Jo Walsh. Let's see, Jo. She's an entrepreneur. She's a singer. She's a host. Yes, she hosts, every other Thursday with Erik doing this stuff, which is how we met. And she's really good at it. But one of the things I like about her, it's always about the deaf community. That's very, very important. I really love that. And why I'm talking about this, Jo, feel free to sign into your friends and family and that community because it's very, very important. And that's a big thing for her. She is that Boss Latina. She is that author too. And when it comes to that, let's see, did I mention singer, acting? She's got all of these things going on and an entrepreneur. So she's got so many things going on. I needed to have her. And it was almost like a last minute thing. Even though she's been booked for like 4 minutes, I'm like, can I get her? Is she going to be too busy? And she's going to tell you why, most likely, because she almost didn't make it. But I'm glad that she's here. And I'm sure Erik Zuli is watching because this is kind of where a lot of us met. And then we have Erik with a K, I got to say. He will tell you there's only one way to say it, as he would say. No, he's that distinguished author. He's written 4 books, 2 of which we're going to talk about, but he can talk about all 4 if he wants. He is that award winner too, and it's always about thrillers. And in that espionage, I should say, community, whether it's working at the government or anything like that, I love those things like that. That's a really, really important thing. And we're going to show these books a little bit later because I've been to 2 states with them so far, and that's important. And then we have something else. We got this connector, Phil the Connector. Anytime you can be called a connector, that's a really, really good thing. And when you do things like that, hey, it's always about sales. It's about networking. And when you do it like that, I like this tag. And if I remember correctly, we build the network, you build a relationship, which is important. And I really, really like that. And then we have Howard Wiggins, actor, dancer. And he's danced. And so, Howard, one of your shorts has gone to almost 32,000 views and counting. And it's only about 20 seconds. He's dancing to James Brown, and I still don't get it. So I'm very, very happy because these kids find him. There's something about Howard Wiggins that everybody likes. And he will tell you. He won't be afraid to tell you. But he's one of the world's leading interior designers. And he is an author. And he's in a Christmas book. And that stuff behind him, that is all real. He's been collecting art since he was a kid. And, I think he sold one thing, just one piece of art, or else everything in there is priceless. and he's going to tell you about those things. And don't let me get you started on Dolly Parton, because I've been working on a couple things here and there which will make him happy. And then we got Franklin. This guy, he's Lenny Kravitz drummer. He was born to drum. My friend Johnny Lee Lane, I didn't know he studied underneath. You didn't know that. Johnny coming from the drum corps world with us, whether it's Blue Devils or Sacramento Freelancers, those things like that, which is really, really good. He's played with Liquid Soul, and I'm going on and on and on, but this is important because it's almost near the end. And it's one of those things where you can play with Stevie Wonder, Stanley Koch, Shaka Khan, whether it's jazz, blues, rock and roll, this guy's done it all. Plus, he's got a new album coming out that I've heard. Hey, Mike Wagner. We love Mike Wagner. And Mike Wagner is up in South Dakota. Well, he's got his own podcast. He's been on here twice, and we like him. But it's one of those things when he's also co-written with Robby Krieger of the Doors. Everybody remember the Doors? Well, Robby Krieger and the Soul Savages, if I remember correctly. And then Franklin, I love his CD. I really liked it. I wanted to play a little bit of it, but I think I'm going to save it. But we will have photos of him showing. And then we have our other friend. This is I've never gone this long off the top of my head before. We have Carol Register. She's the neuro coach. She's also in the EZWAY family too, but she's become one of us, which is really, really special. And then we have Carol. I'm going to let you go on. I'm going to let Joe and everybody talk because almost all you guys are hosts anyhow. And then we have my longest running co-host, nonstop Terry Marie. And I think Terry's if she's not in Ventura, she's probably in.
I'm in Sherman Oaks today.
I was going to say that next, but here we are. We are live as usual. Talk for Media, K4HD Radio, iTunes 247 streaming, Talk for TV, and streaming on over 100 outlets around the world right now. And I love that. WomanOnTV.tv and iTunes 247 out of Franklin, Tennessee. Now that I said a mouthful, I don't really want to say too much anymore. But Franklin, I got to start with you. Got to start with you first because let's talk about what you got coming up, followed by Carol. Go ahead, Franklin.
All right. Well, first of all, it's a pleasure and an honor to be here. It's nice to see everyone on the platform. Nice to see you. What do I have coming up? Well, it's funny that you mentioned Robby Krieger. As a matter of fact, tonight, I'm about to meet him in a little club that I used to perform in back in 2006. I'm going to meet Robby Krieger tonight after this interview in Venice at a little club called The Brig. And we're going to have a little jam session and celebrate a friend's birthday. His name is Sal Marquez. So happy birthday, Sal. We're going to celebrate his birthday and we're going to have some fun. So I got that coming up tonight.
That's really cool. I like that. And obviously Terry and I, we've been there, so that's fun to hear about that.
Yeah, that's a great venue. It's a lot of fun.
So I'm going to do some hanging out tonight. I'm going to hang out with my pal.
That'll be fun. Carol Register, tell them who you are, where you coming from.
Oh, man, I'm coming from Florida right now. I'm international. I also live in Chile and a multiple business owner. I'm a neuro coach, and I created the Neuro Wealth Method. So I help females to scale up their businesses, break through, and heal their limiting money stories. About 72% of women aren't paid the way that they should be paid for the work that they're doing. So that's a big passion of mine. And I love doing what I do.
And that's really important. So Phil, so you can see what we do on movie reviews and more. Since you're that connector, tell us what's going on.
Yeah, I'm out here in Boise, Idaho, where it is required to have a beard. So I'm just kidding. No, my claim. So thanks for having me. I really appreciate this. My claim to fame is in the last 6 years, I've done 5,000 one-to-ones and create a large network. And what we do here at the Connector community is just speed up your networking so that you can get to those people fast. So we're all about eliminating steps so you can get to more connections. That's what we all need.
Correct.
Joe Wald, it's one of those things where you're used to being in control of everything. You get a chance to kind of sit back for a little bit. So welcome to Movie Reviews and More, because you've been waiting for a long time. Just like Phil, I snuck on. I mean, I'm surprised that we even had room because we usually have like 3 more co-hosts on.
Oh,
amazing.
which is
Joe,
interesting.
I love your voice. Like, listen to her voice. Just say
Hi.
hello again. Yeah. Like,
Hello, my name is Joe Welch.
yes. it is.
Hello.
And she's
Such a
that
good
boss
name.
Latina. Go ahead, Joe. Take it away.
I'm a boss Latina. So my name is Joe Welch. It's such a pleasure to meet you all. I do many things. I think I'm in good company here, right? There's no just one magical thing. We find where our heart takes us. At its core, my values are about engagement, inclusion, and of course, legacy, because everything that we do is leading to the future and also reaching back. We want to make sure that the people that we're working so hard for, whether it's our clients, our family, our children, that they have something tangible to be able to hold on to, whether not just our memories, but all the things that we're investing our time and heart and energy into. And I've had the great blessing of being a part of this larger community at EZWAY, and I've got a lot of projects coming up. I am an author, not only with Boss Latinas, which came out a couple of years back. It's an anthology, thank you very much, of 31 other Latinas and our origin stories. But I'm also a part of the EZWAY Best of the Best book that just came out as well. And that hard copy is now back in stock. And so this is my second time being in a collaborative book. And you never know who's going to be in those books, but you know that you're going to get somebody's story. And so it's such an honor to be a part of such an amazing multiple communities. And Brian, you brought up my sign language world, my interpreting world. You are correct. I've been a certified sign language interpreter for over 31 years. I'm a first generation Latina, as you guys know. And so language and communication is really where it's at. And that to me is always about that engagement and inclusion. So making sure that things are captioned and making sure that there's sign language interpreters present. And really it's about making sure that everybody who's in the room or isn't in the room either gets that invite, has access, and is able to sit at the table and participate like anybody else. So you nailed it when you introduced me. Absolutely. You checked off all my boxes, and it's an absolute honor to get to sit here with you and these amazing folks. You know, you say we're all in the same community, but I'm getting to meet people for the first time today.
And the good thing about that, feel free anytime as we're all talking to sign to them, because that's important. My friend, our colleague Montague Pope LeBeau is actually making artwork that deaf and blind people could actually
participate,
and actually touch.
Access,
absolutely, which is important. And I like that when it goes to books too. And speaking of authors, all right, Erik with a K, let's talk about you because you've been waiting for this. So I've kind of snuck Erik in kind of really quickly. He kind of moved up in a minute. So Erik, talk about your books, take it away, and then we're going to go to Franklin.
Well, as you said, I was award-winning author, the CIBA Awards back in 2020 and 2021. And the one that Brian's holding up won a first place position. And We Know Your Name actually got a runner-up position. And I have submitted two of my books for the same contest. And if, like Brian says, he likes spy thrillers, well, that's what they're about. The first one introduces all the characters. We Know Your Name. You learn about the main character and the people he works with. You learn how he meets his girlfriend. And the other three books deal with time travel, back to World War II. The best way to describe it, think of Jason Bourne or James Bond going back in time, because the timeline gets skewed and the main character has to fix it. If not, things will go very badly in the future.
And I love stuff like that because it's there was one year where I got down to I challenged myself, how many good days can I have throughout the year? Well, that was easy. So I said, how many bad days would I have in 1 year? And I did. I counted it 7 years in a row. I started with 23 bad days in 1 year, meaning you just wake up and everything is wrong. And I got down to 7, and I never forgot that. I said, oh, can I get down to 5? Is that possible? Do I have to do this one more year? And I actually did. I only had 5 days in 1 year. It's like, just like this year, I only had 2 days off because we are all busy working. And that's not always easy. And a lot of people don't think about these things. And I see a lot of nods. Phil knows about it. Joe knows about it. I'm sure Erik with a K, because I have to tease him with a K because most of my friends are named C. So he goes, it's only one way. And so Franklin, we're going to go to you in a minute. But Terry, introduce yourself, followed by Harry. Go ahead.
Hey, everybody. As Brian said, I've been with Brian since 2014.
Can't get rid of it.
I have done several fitness competitions where I placed first place in Muscle Beach and NPC Fitness Universe. I was Miss Fitness LA. I do red carpet hosting for Brian. I dabble in a little artwork. I'm also in the orthopedic world. That's why I'm wearing scrubs right now, because he's working with patients today. I go by nonstop because I'm constantly doing something. So
And
nice
she
to meet
is.
you. Nice to meet everybody.
Howard
I
Wiggins.
told you, I knew I was in good company.
Howard Wiggins. He is in room number 36 today. Talk about what you're wearing, what room, what the art is in there, because everybody keeps asking.
It's kind of a split room. I'm in the guest bedroom looking at the hallway behind me. So the artwork I collect all the time. So the dog is a Bun Gray that's in the hallway. Let's see. I've got a Bruce Matthews on the wall with the books, and you may not can see that. But I'm one of the world's 35 leading interior designers, like Brian said. And I've recently got on Facebook and I put my quotations that I make up and that I want to be known for. So if you check my Facebook page, you can read some of those. Like if you want to be timeless, you create something original, because original never goes out of time. So if you do what's in, it's called a trend. It's going to go. It's going to go out. So don't go all the way. I'm not saying don't do a trend, but just don't go all the way into the trend. If it works with what you got, use it. If it doesn't, don't. So, because things are always changing. That's the world.
That's true. And if you don't, I talk to Carol about this all the time. If you don't adapt and adjust, you most likely won't survive, because it's always about that, Royal Prince Franklin. Isn't that because just what you've been doing? I mean, I was trying to think of how many singers who are drummers that I know of, and I can only kind of think of like really maybe 3 or 4.
Karen Carpenter.
Tom Hambridge.
Karen was one of the best drummers out there, and a lot of people still don't realize that, as going back in the day, she was a kick-ass drummer.
Yeah.
Franklin, since you know about these, take it away. But you didn't know that I knew Johnny, did you?
I did not know. That's impressive. You're definitely a man that gets around.
I'm like Phil the Connector and Eric. Hey, Franklin, talk about what's going on with Robby. You're going to see him tonight, obviously, but that, co-writing with him, and that's got to be interesting as that drummer, because at that point you're not the drummer. You're actually that lead at that point. A lot of people don't realize that's not that easy, is it?
No, it isn't. Yes, I can talk about how it happened. It happened during COVID. The 4 of us were getting together and just jamming out, because we had the time and we had all of these ideas. So we were meeting at the studio every week. And as time went by, we started to analyze what we were doing, and it started to sound like, hey, we got something here. Well, let's focus on an album. So we all kept going, and here we are. The record came out earlier this year, January 19th, 2024.
Wow.
That's a great thing. And Joe, you're that singer, about music. Your husband is so-and-so too, isn't he?
He is. So my husband is a guy named Monster Mike Welch. He is the Blues Foundation guitar playing award winner.
Nice.
And to just throw a little more, to flex, I'm also the photographer and have been a part of all of these things. I did sing on his most recent album, just some background vocals, but it's a very much a family affair. Our daughter also sang on there, but my husband, I'll happily talk about him. I just saw him play at Chan's in Woonsocket. And he is just an amazing artist. He's so his creativity. And I will say, if you're wondering if it's a love song, some of them are about me. The $6 in our pocket and having a minivan, that's us too. And he's played with some amazing folks, and it's just it's such a we built a musician artist family, and we, you know, when the COVID hit, we were talking about going back to those COVID moments. You know, we brought all the studios up. I had my own studio because I'm a virtual producer. My husband had his music studio. Our daughter, we had started a nonprofit for LGBTQ teens, and we put together online shows for them, you know, and did all the stuff in the background. Of course, we had American Sign Language artists, so deaf artists were signing the songs. It was open caption, and then we had these amazing teens singing and doing all the music. My husband helped out with all that. So, you know, it's definitely a part of our life. And I will say it also goes back to my parents. My dad is a guitar player, and he is a Colombian guy, like he, you know, born in Colombia, but he loves Mexican rancheras. And when I was growing up, our parties just included my dad playing his guitar, my mom singing along. Every time I'm in the room with them, they, of course, always, you know, I always have to sing, like there's 4 or 5 songs that I have to sing with my dad, do the harmonies. He's like, you know, do the thing, you know? So absolutely, this has been a part of my life since I think I came out of the womb singing. So that was just, you know, just what it was. And I do a little blues, R&B, you know, anywhere someone will have me, I'll happily sing along.
Me gustaría bailar Latina. So yeah,
yes, you're in Chile.
Yeah, that's right. You know, all of it. It's so
salsa,
beautiful.
Merengue, for sure.
Yeah. And speaking of rhythm, I love the Guido cha 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 cha. Yeah, I love it. So yeah, I think it's something that we should get to experience, Joe. We should get to experience.
We're going to have to figure out how to do it together. And I'm a very strong lead because a lot of the guys growing up just didn't know how to dance. And so I'd have to teach them. And I've taught all my friends how to do salsa and merengue. But I will say I have to put out my guilty pleasure. And I want to know who else on the show loves this. I love karaoke, and I'm not ashamed to say it. I'm not ashamed to say it. I love some good Whitney Houston, Adele. Like I don't play around. I pick out only the big singers and definitely throw down.
I love karaoke. I can't sing. That's a gift I wish I could have because I love to dance. Brian knows that. I also do like crazy videos on TikTok, but I don't mind making an ass of myself during karaoke because it's just fun.
I've always said this. I won't sing unless there's a karaoke machine that has Van Halen Ain't Talking About Love. So I've been lucky so far. But if there's one, I've made a promise to myself, I will surprise people and I'll be the black guy singing Ain't Talking About Love. But that would be me.
Yeah, I
Eric
love
with
that.
a K. I got to ask you something.
I was going to say something.
Yeah.
If last time I sang, I made the stock market crash. And that was in 1929. So don't ask me to do karaoke or do backup singing because I really
that's a lot of power. That's a lot of power, Eric.
That's impressive. Oh, nice,
right, Franklin.
Nice thought.
We were talking about this because I loved your photos and everything, and I love that. And we talked about this because he was on a couple of weeks ago, and I want to really help promote his new CD that he's got coming out because it's not easy putting all these things out. And so I wanted you to meet everybody else that was coming on too. Talk about this, Emma. What does this mean? I love that.
Interesting. Okay, well, all right. The wings in the middle, it's me actually, but I'm turned upside down. It's me in the water in the Bahamas. The symbol in the middle is my interpretation of freedom, because this was around the time that I was looking at property in the Bahamas, and in the back of the property is the ocean. So I actually dived off the cliff and with a friend of mine, and she took a photo of me with a waterproof camera underwater, and my hands were extended in the air.
Wow.
So an artist took it and just started to play with my arm expansion and came up with that. You know, so I decided to keep it. I like it. So yes.
I like that.
Impressive.
Very cool.
Yes. Thank you.
Phil Connector, you're good when it comes to sales and helping those people with businesses. Talk about that. Why is that important these days? Because it's extremely important.
Well, yeah, I've been in sales for over 30 years, and I've done door-to-door telemarketing. I'm dating myself when I say I sold MCI long distance service, so I'm a telemarketer. But I don't know. I think a lot of people today are afraid to ask for the sale, and it's very simple to do so. You just got to ask, but they're so afraid of that. So I love teaching sales. Anything to do with sales, I'm there. So I love not only connecting people, but then teach them how to take that relationship further. Right. So I say you're out here networking, you're here to kiss all those frogs, but what you're really looking to do is just get your 15 to 20 core people. And if you treat them right and stay in their world, they'll feed you for a lifetime. So, and that's what we like to teach is give to grow. So that's one of the workshops I do.
So I want to share my take if I may, Phil.
Yeah, sure.
Terry, you want to go ahead?
Oh no, I just wanted to say that I'm not sure if I know Brian knows this, but I have 25 years of medical sales experience, so that's been my forte. So I'm always with different audiences, whether it be hospital administrations, orthopedic surgeons, athletic trainers. So, and I even work with patients. So it's very challenging, but it's very rewarding because I like to work as a consultant. So that's kind of my expertise. And like now I'm training other reps, and that's really exciting that now I get to do that.
Wow.
That's fabulous. I wanted to share just a story I use when talking with folks. And I, as a parent, we're raising these little people, and then we have to kind of share this idea that broccoli or asparagus or something that isn't necessarily in their world is the thing that they need, right? And so if you are a parent, if you've been in that position or guardian or whatever it is, that we have something that we know and we believe in, and then you have to somehow translate that, right? They have to take that belief and say, yes, this is what I want. And so I usually speak to, especially folks who are very nervous about sales, is that it's at the core, it's about the asparagus. It's about the broccoli. That like when I looked at my child, I didn't necessarily, when I saw resistance, I said, oh, this is a tree. Or my favorite was we got on either side of the cooked asparagus, and we made a race to the middle. And the reason I bring that up is that I think sometimes we overcomplicate it with sales. And when you really do have like a core belief, that this is important, that this is good, then it's about just understanding why. And so I just wanted to share that with you. You can absolutely, that's capital J-O Welch, just so if you put me in the book. But so it's my broccoli or my asparagus theory that, if we're in service of something, if our heart is behind it, especially when we believe it, that all this is that transfer of belief. And so it starts, we've been doing sales all our lives, but sometimes people, when it comes to money or, you're looking at some sort of exchange that is outside of that norm, we get awkward and we feel embarrassed about it instead of, you know what, I really believe in this. I really think this is important.
Well, I think you bring up such a great point because we're enrolling people every day, and every conversation we have in one way or another, it's always an exchange of information and ideas. And do you accept it? Do you receive it? Are you convinced of it? Are you believing in it? I really appreciate that point.
I also think too in sales that it's really important to be asking the right questions, to be listening to your customer, because you don't want to sell them something. You want to provide them a service that they need. And so there's an old saying that you show up to a sales presentation, you show up and you throw up. That's what you don't want to do.
Right.
I had a boss that said that, so I always remember that. So it's always about, asking that customer, what is your problem? How can I solve this? How can I make your life better? How can I make more revenue to you? What are your patients needing? And tear towards what their frustrations and their pain points are, And then they don't look at you as like a sales rep, because the one last thing that people want when they're, trying to buy something is somebody to push stuff on them, especially like a used car salesman. Like, when you go in there and they're pushing stuff on you, you want that person to sell the product to themselves. And that's how I try to sell as a consultant.
I want to also make the connection, especially that we're in a room full of artists. So what I also have found is that, especially when it comes to art and putting ourselves out, whether it's about music or visual art or however that might be, that's also the challenge, right? That people feel like that's selling out versus simply like that's the goal, is for everybody to have a piece of you in their world, right? So I love all of these connections when it comes to it, because again, it comes back to what are our misconceptions about what it means to be to do this thing that all of us have been doing our whole lives, right? You sold your parents on lending you the car, you sold your parents on, like there's just so many ways that teacher to give you the B versus the B minus. Like we've just been doing it for so long, and it's such a natural course in what we do.
That's funny. Hey, Howard, I want to get you really quickly, because you don't have to sell yourself. You are just you, and people like you for who you are. And I think that's good, especially those kids, because you have something that's very unique. You have a lot of energy, and people just every day someone's reaching out to me. Who is this Howard Wiggins? Where is he located? Well, he says it every week. But there's something about you that you like. What would you say it is that people like about you? And then Carol, we're going to go to you next.
Well, I think, today I got told I look like Billy Bob Thornton twice, but I am in sales. I do sales all the time, and I always use scenarios. So one reason I dress, I can talk about the way you relate that to a room. All colors go with all colors. And the proof of that is I can go pick flowers randomly, put it in a vase, and it's going to look good. It's the way you direct your eye and you have balance. And a lot of times I'll do scenarios like right now, a white room's real popular, but sometimes people will have a dark floor or a black vanity or something like that, and it dominates over the white. And I tell them it's like if I had a white piece of paper and have a black dot on it, what do you look at? You look at the black dot, no matter how little, how big. The way you fix that is you have several black dots on the piece of paper, so it's balanced. So my eyes jumping around from the floor to the walls to the ceiling, and therefore I see the whole room together. I don't see that one black dot. I see several. So I do that constantly. I have all these little rules that I make. I was looking at the book I wrote, What Were You Thinking? Costly Mistakes That People Make. And one comparison I used to do is people tend to buy what they like. You start off with what you love, you put what makes it look best. And the comparison I used to make is that's like me going out and I got a picture of myself in cowboy boots, swim trunks, and a bow tie. I can like those things, but they don't go together. So in my book, I have that in the picture. But if you just make little statements, say a lot, instead of going on and on and on and try to make your point, people think, oh yeah, that makes sense. Just do it quickly. The other thing I was capable of doing, I can do a floor plan on the back of my business card. And when in the book I wrote, I took a sofa, a pair of chairs, and one odd chair. I can arrange that in 188 different ways, no matter where you live. So I used to do that really quickly and put it on the back of my card. And then I go to another store and people say, oh, I know who you are. You're Howard Wiggins, because people come in with this card, with this floor plan, and they're shopping it, So, but, it's you win them over. And once you got them, they're yours. I mean, forever, for decades and decades. I used to say they wouldn't buy toilet paper unless they called me and asked me what color,
Carol registered. You got a chance to talk to Erik with a K a little bit. So you said, she texted me, Erik said, I got a couple of questions to ask Erik. I'm like, go for it.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's so interesting that you graduated with a focus in Russian history with the work you're doing. I would love for you to share about your PBJ story. That was awesome.
Always promoting, right?
From the book, right?
Right.
Okay. Right. Well, don't anyone fall over backwards. I have never had a PBJ ever. Not even as a kid. So all my friends are still having wagers who's going to get the big money trying
Now,
to make
is
me
there
one.
is there a reason?
Well, the funny
Like,
thing
are you
is,
Are you deathly allergic to peanuts? Like,
no, just don't like. I never grew up with it. But the funny
Oh.
thing is, my dad was German Mexican. He was first generation. My mom was second generation, and she's Norwegian Scandinavian, and they didn't have that. So, but the story was in the book, and We Know Your Name. The main character, he's a CIA analyst, and no one knows that. And
You mean
so
this
he
one?
go, yes, that one.
Yeah.
That's the one first in the series. So his girlfriend, who's younger, takes him to a college bar to meet her friends and this and that. And she's talking, and her friends are talking. And one guy said, "Hey, have you ever eaten ramen noodle soup?" And he looks at him and was like, "No." And but I hate to say it, that's my favorite soup. That's a disclosure. And so she makes fun of him and says, "Oh, let me guess, you never had a PBJ." And he's thinking to himself, PBJ, well, that was a naval bomber during World War II, so I don't think she means that. So I better ask her, what's a PBJ? Peanut butter and jelly sandwich. He went, oh, no, I never have. So I make fun of myself in the story with that.
Yeah, your characters that you talked about building out, being believable and being flawed, even though, you know, operating in the top 1 to 3% of the population, less than the 1% of the population in reality. Super interesting. So I am excited to dive into these books. And you mentioned the Horizons book that you released at the same time, Horizons Without Boundaries, at the same time as you released Between Methods and Madness. And I was wondering why you released both books at the same time.
Okay. So when I was writing Horizons Without Boundaries, I was doing my corporate job. It was my last year. My wife says, hey, just focus on writing, market the hell out of it, and so we can get you to the next step. So I said, okay. So after work, I wrote for 2-3 hours every day. Always made time for her. That's important, though. And so I put my 2 weeks notice in, and within that 2 weeks, I had a dream. And I woke up around 3:30, and she was panicking. She said, are you okay? I said, yes, I'm fine. I have an idea for book 4. She says, you haven't finished book 3 yet. I said, I know, but I have an idea for book 4. As soon as I quit my job, I started writing book 4 and finishing the first draft in 14 months. And then I went back to finish book 3, and that's why they were published together. So.
I like that though. That's not unusual for somebody. There was a couple people I interviewed in the movie world where they knew the ending. They had to get there, but they knew the ending, and it was very interesting because you have these different interpretations. And I think that's great. Tell them why people should go out and buy your book. Franklin, coming to you next.
Why? Because it's very compelling. Because when you think it's the right thing to do, it's not always the right thing to do. Like, for example, and since you brought up Horizons Without Boundaries, the main character has to go back in time to 1940 during the Battle Blitz because somehow this timeline gets skewed. And the main character finds out who did it. And basically, like I said, this is all hypothetical. They said, if we can get America involved with the war sooner, we can stop the Holocaust from happening. But however, the guy that went back in time to do that doesn't realize in 2012, Israel's about to launch a strike against Iran, which causes a world war. So as I said, doing the right thing is not always the right thing to do.
Exactly.
And I'll give you another example. The book that you're going to read second, Brian, One Way Roads. The main character has to go back in time to rescue Erwin Rommel to end World War II sooner. However, he finds out a high-ranking Nazi official gets killed, and that causes the Germans to get the atomic bomb first, and they use it. And why I say it's an interesting read is because he is in a moral dilemma, because the person he has to save to prevent that from happening is Hitler. Even my publisher, when he read my book, said, "What the hell are you thinking?" and I said, so many books have it that you kill him, everything goes back to normal. Why not make a moral dilemma? Because everyone would like to kill him, but if it causes a worse effect than letting the war continue, the rest is history.
And that makes
Erik,
a lot of sense.
have you read the book Catch-22?
I read part of it.
Yeah. It just totally reminds me of that scenario, the Catch-22. Which way do I go?
Yeah, Yossarian says, I want to be crazy so I don't have to fly, but, they're going to put me in a plane to bomb, so I'm crazy for going in a plane to bomb it. So, like you said, it's a Catch-22.
Hey, Franklin, we got to... Oh, go ahead, Erik. Sorry.
That's all I was going to say, but she brought up a good point.
Well, Carol's full of them. That's the great thing about these smart women. They come on. I don't want to say a lot because I'm like, wow, I didn't know that one. I didn't know that one. That's the good thing about that. Hey, Franklin, talk about this. Talk about you traveling and talk about what was like writing songs, because I'm always thinking about how do people write these songs? And I always tell Terry all the time, every hit song is about misery or a breakup or something like that. Even Don't Worry, Be Happy, that Bobby McFay, like he hated that song. It is. Talk about how you wrote yours. You got 3 songs on there that I really liked. Talk about that real quick.
Okay, before I talk about that, I wanted to make a comment to Erik with the K. Sorry, yeah.
Thank you, Franklin.
How you doing, Erik? What you say is very intriguing. I would like to check your books out.
Thank you. They're available on Amazon, and what's nice about they'll say 1 of 2, 1 of 4, 2 of 4, so you know what the order they go in.
Okay, that's awesome.
And if I ever see your gig, I will sign your books for you.
Thank you. I'm taking a quick sidebar. I'm sorry. I'm going to answer your question, Brian. Give me a second, sir.
Go ahead.
The other night, I went to a business dinner with a couple of colleagues of mine that's on my team that I put together in Chicago regarding a Chicago education and performance arts project. One of those individuals I was having dinner with, he's a former soldier, and he's a special ops soldier, as a matter of fact. So he was involved with a lot of classified things, and he pointed something out to me that I never realized, but it makes a lot of sense. He said, if you ever noticed when our taxes are at our highest point, it's always because of wars. War that we constantly have going on, whether it's a conflict within our country or a conflict outside the country, like Israel and Hamas, that stuff like that, for example. Like throughout the years, if you do research, taxes have always been high. And it made me think about what you were speaking of.
Yeah, makes sense.
Throughout time, like every time there's a war, everything increases. And if there's not a war, things are calmer or softer or whatever. But it just seems like throughout history, there must be a conflict to gain more money for reasons that we're not aware of, whether it's greed or turmoil to other cultures or,
Forgive me for interrupting, but Franklin, like wars are hugely profitable.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, leading into what Brian was talking about, he was asking me what led me to write these songs. As a matter of fact, there's a lyric in one of my songs that will be one of the singles that I release in 2025. In the second verse, I say, fighting a war that I don't understand, money and war always go hand in hand. So yeah. So without realizing, I knew that, like, okay, yeah, like, to me, money is always about profit. Money, for reasons that we can't see, you know, right away. Yes. So yes, I would love to read your book, Erik. Yes. Awesome. What led me to write the songs that I have? Well, pretty much all of it were my life experiences, whether it was with a group of lots of individuals or romances that I had. You know, a lot of it is based on love, sex, passion for whatever you have going on, and, you know, so things that we've experienced in society. Like, you could be standing in a group of a bunch of people, but you still feel alone. And, you know, I kind of talk about that a little bit in another song that I wrote. So, Brian, which songs do you like? Which ones are you speaking of?
I can't remember the names like now because I got so much stuff going through my head, and I was actually going to look, but they were catchy when I was listening to them because I was in the mood. It's like I got to be in that mood because there's so much stuff going on in the world, you know, especially when I'm traveling, and you know what that's like. And it's just like I was telling Erik, I got to take that time to read a book, and I can't read a book inside. It's got to be outside. I've got to be on public transportation and not driving for me to read it. Because once I read it, I don't want to put it down. So that's kind of how I do it. I was in that mood to listen to it. So now I'm getting ready to go back and listen to it because I know it's going to get ready to come out pretty soon next year.
Yeah. You were asking me about my travels as well?
Yeah. Real quickly, and then give you social media links.
Yes. What do you want to know about my travels? I have a lot of traveling that
Pick one country that you like to travel to.
All right. You want the long answer or the short answer? Okay.
Short answer.
In Europe, my two favorite countries, I would say, is Italy and Switzerland. South America, I love Brazil. And I really like Colombia. I've been there once, and, you know, you always hear scary things about Colombia, but it was quite fun. I had a wonderful time. I've been to Chile. I like a lot of wine, and I like red meat, you know, so like Chile and Argentina are like the countries I really enjoy. Brazil. You know, anything with meat and wine, you got me.
I'm down south in the Andes Mountains. I have a boutique hotel there. We have had many famous people, including former Nobel Prize winners, famous authors and artists, and past presidents. And I don't advertise it because I don't have to.
She doesn't have to.
Separate from my coaching. Yeah, we're going to be I can't talk tonight. Totally booked out because it's summer there. It's below the equator. But come, we do amazing retreats, by the way. So,
well, please send me all the information. I would love to visit one day.
Okay. It's really cool. Sorry?
You're in the mountains of Chile?
Yeah, we're in a small town in the Andes Mountains. We're on a large lake, and we're surrounded by 4 glacier-covered volcanoes, one of them being one of the most active. So we've got the largest black sand beach on a lake in the country, hot springs, whitewater rafting, fishing, hiking, anything you could think of. It's really cool.
Well, I would love to get in touch and receive all the information about your hotel.
Okay.
I'll check it out for sure.
All right, real quick. Terry Marie, give them social media links.
My social media links is Terry Marie Nonstop on all platforms, and I'm on TikTok Shop. If you want to get some holiday specials, follow me on there.
Carol Register.
Reach me on primarily IG, but also on LinkedIn at Carol Register, and Facebook as well. So I'm easy to get a hold of.
Phil the Connector.
Either Phil Herrington on all social media platforms, and that's with an E, Herrington.
Howard Wiggins.
Howard Wiggins Facebook, movies, reviews, and more. And I've only had one vacation in my 71 years of my life.
You are not
No,
71 years
I've only
Need a
old.
vacation.
I do day trips. I go to another state and back. I don't go any further than that, and I'm
You
okay
need a
with it.
dancing vacation.
We're going to talk
Dancing,
about
I
that
don't have to
tomorrow,
go anywhere.
We will.
Joe Walsh, social media links.
Joe Welch here. Social media, go to joewelch.com. You're going to find me. My full name is Jeanette Ocampo Welch. So sometimes people get confused, but capital J, capital O, Welch. That's how you write those checks out to me. That's joewelch.com. And you can find me everywhere as well as LinkedIn. But that joewelch.com is going to tell you everything that I am up to.
Erik K.
That's right. Just make sure you spell it right. Erik. Last name is Foge. On all the social media links, including LinkedIn.
Foge.
Yes. So Franklin, you can reach out to me. I'll tell you more about the books.
Perfect. You got it.
And I will leave you with this quote, since you said you heard lyrics. I always put something in my books. In my book, We Know Your Name, I put the quote in everyone I sign. I say, before you leave, make sure they fear and respect you.
Yeah.
And I'm going to end with this because I'm out of time to talk about movies. The publicist is going to be upset. But Separated came out yesterday. It's about the kids that were separated. Talked to Jacob Sobolov about this yesterday. Adam Kinzinger, The Last Republican. Steve Pink talked to him about that. These movies are out there. They're very, very good documentaries. And one more, Unstoppable, Jennifer Lopez. Anthony Robles. He was born with one leg, and he ended up being that wrestler. And it's a great story. It's a true story. That is coming out, and that'll be on Amazon and MGM. Check out those movies. Really, really good movies. And I got to say this. Thank you for everybody coming out. We're out of time. I always say this. Have a good night tonight. A better day tomorrow. You see someone without a smile, please give them one of yours because the world needs it. I'm Brian Sebastian. This is Movie Reviews and More, and we will see you next week.